Yep, free gifts. Okay, but before we get into that, I just wanted to mention that we hit 40k on Instagram and we're close to 900 and no, let's round this up, 1000 subscribers on YouTube. Seriously, thank you all so much for the support y'all have shown. It truly means a lot to me. So the gifts. I'm releasing the Blender file for this project, Sticks and Snow, as well as my procedural eye on my Gumroad for free. But if you're balling though, let's break down Sticks and Snow. So you get to take a peek behind the curtains and fiddle around with whatever you want. You can turn on and off the multi-res modifier to get a glimpse of how I sculpt, such as the sticks, the scarf, the clothes, etc. Mess around with the bootlace, which I'm personally very happy with how it turned out. Mess around with the hair particles, procedural textures, and maybe even throw on your own textures, you know. I don't know, do what you want. The eyes in this file is a beta version of tinynocky 1.0, so the properties are a bit dated. So let's have a look at the updated properties of tinynocky 1.0. So tinynocky is a fully procedural stylized eye that works in both EV and cycles, and I made it to speed up my workflow, so I tried to keep the node properties to be as minimalistic as possible. So there are three main properties to look at. First, we have shape keys to adjust the iris, pupil, and the cornea. So the iris by default is really large, and that's because the works that I do are usually very stylized. However, turning up the iris size value to 1 shrinks it down to a more realistic proportion. Turning the pupil size value from -1 to 1 dilates or contracts the pupil quite a fair bit. The cornea by default is spherical. Again, it's because the works that I do are very stylized. Turning the cornea bulge value to 1 creates the bulge that real eyes have. Next up, we have the iris node properties. Iris is the colorful bits of the eye. The properties have been arranged to be tweaked from the top to the bottom, and as you can see, there's only one color input to care about. It's not the most customizable, but it's fast. The primary scale determines the amount of primary streaks introduced to the iris. The primary contrast determines how crisp or soft the streaks are. The primary strength changes the brightness value, and this is good for compensating for any loss or excess brightness. Next up, by default, the secondary strength is set at 0. So turn it up to introduce finer streaks to complement the primary details. The scale and contrast, they work the same way as they do with the primary settings. I'm gonna move past that. Dark ring is the limbo ring, so this determines the radius of the mask. The top shadow introduces the shadow that is casted by the upper eyelid. Bottom glow makes the bottom portion of the eyes glow. So this works really nicely with darker eyes in my opinion, but it works with any color as well. Bottom hue changes the hue of the bottom portion of the eye to create a gradient effect. Lastly, in slot number 2, we have the sclera node properties. Sclera is the white portion of the eye. Color and specular is pretty self-explanatory. The roughness of the iris and the sclera are independent from one another. So let's say you'd like your sclera to resemble a clay texture. You could plug in a fingerprint or any other surface imperfection texture into the sclera roughness and leave the iris completely glossy. So that's it. That's all I have for you guys. But seriously, I cannot thank you guys enough for the amount of support y'all have shown me. So take this as a little gift for 40k on Instagram and close to 1000 on YouTube. Yeah, let's see if we can hit 1000 subs. That would be honestly really nice for both my ego and my wallet. Yeah, that's it. Bye guys.